channel. We actually had a very good and lively discussion, or actually it might have been the staking pool evaluation channel. It was about how we can evaluate countries, or how do we evaluate the country column. And Colin ended up coming with a list that talks about the jurisdictions that can be serviced by the Activate platform, and they had already gone through and picked the jurisdictionally sensitive users or areas. And so we'd agreed there that for now, at least from a binary perspective, if a provider operates within one of those jurisdictions, if it operates in one of the ones that cannot be serviced by the Activate platform, it's an automatic red flag. And then we could probably give either yellows or greens to others. And so that was a good framework to go off of. Does anyone have anything to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll just give a 2-minute background on kind of how it was like put together and kind of the legal work that was done behind it. But what we do at Activate is in a way we do token sales. It's a network launch event, but it does include like a token distribution event and purchase. So we spent the past year and a half, and this list is continually updated because this list does get updated based on like OFAC and like a lot of these other global bodies and stuff. But the list is forward looking as of today. Every month or so, there's probably 1 or 2 jurisdictions that become questionable that kind of get added to it. But it is a well-vetted list, and the way we use the list is we don't let users from those jurisdictions access our site. And we also don't allow them to partake in token sales. They can stake and they can use the platform from that perspective, but those are like legally sensitive money laundering countries, terrorist finance countries, and similar stuff that comes up on the OFAC list. So it is well vetted by internal and external counsel, and I think it would be helpful to serve as a a framework. We don't have to reference it, or we can include it, or we can make up our own list, but I figured that would kind of help, and that's where it came from.
Awesome. So with that, are there any other items that people wanted to cover that I didn't cover before we start heading into the evaluation? There were some other discussions I know by James and Nolan in the staking pool evaluation. I don't know if you guys want to go over that, or you just want to kind of hop right in. Specifically about one of the slashing events.
I don't know, unless anybody has information that they want to share. Like, I don't think, I know we've had some speculation in that discussion and elsewhere around what happened, but unless anybody is aware of specific information, I think we kind of move past that and dive into our exercise today.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to then hop right into the next staking pool, which is Stakewise. So we are on that would be column A, row 8. And so I'm just going to go and read through the answers. What country is your business based out of? Estonia. So I'm just now going to kind of cross list, see if Estonia is on the list from Activate. It's not on that list. So I would suggest that we would make that green. We had also, in the last discussion, we discussed about the article that Nolan posted. We read through it and kind of determined that it looked like it was more of a crackdown on kind of nefarious participants rather than generally good participants, people that are doing things legally. So that's why we're, I suggest we keep it green for now. Is everyone okay with that? Awesome. I'll take silence as the affirmative. Are you confident that you are adhering to all the necessary regulations for the jurisdiction you are in? We are confident about being compliant with the laws of Estonia. We are working with reputable Scandinavian law firm, a portfolio of clients in crypto to draft the terms of use as well as receive a legal opinion about our full compliance. Well, we've been putting these yellow, so this should definitely be yellow. I think it's interesting because Estonia is not in Scandinavia as well. So I just thought that was a interesting kind of let me dangle this versus it might not be super relevant. But we're gonna put it probably yellow as anyway until we should get proof, just like the others. How much control do you have over users' funds? Do you hold 0, 1, or 2 keys? In the pool service, we will generate a share withdrawal key with Shamir's secret sharing. The parts will be distributed between trusted entities in the Ethereum community to prevent centralization of custody in our hands, and will be used to sign the withdrawal transaction through a threshold signature akin to multi-sig arrangement. For the solo service, we require users to submit that withdrawal public key. In both instances, we retain control of the validator keys. However, for the solo service, we will implement pulling validator keys upon request so they can migrate from Stakewise to some other provider or continue running by themselves. When pulling the validator keys, they will be encrypted using the user's ETH1 address or RSA. They will also retrieve validator.db to avoid slashing. So what are people thinking here?
I mean, it's true. Just from my background, I've been working with one of the Stakewise guys on an economics paper. So I've begun to dig more into like how the system works and what is going on with it. So based on what is said here, this is true. They also put out that cool open source BLS withdrawal code. I don't know if anyone has seen that. I haven't totally dug into it, but I think that's pretty cool. So that basically, there's code that proves that is how they handle withdrawals or when withdrawals can be enabled. So they do have some public code on that as like proof, which is good. But aside from that, I think this is probably one of the best answers we've received.
So, what do you guys think? Putting in green?
I would say put it in green for now. Yeah, that'd be my vote.
It is the most comprehensive answer with the most detail for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, unless anyone protests, we'll move on. Do you have any insurance in case funds are lost? We don't have an insurance that covers the loss of the funds. We expect users to use insurance protocols like Shield Out and Nexus Mutual to insure their funds, and will likely have an internal solution where some users can underwrite the risk of slashing related losses for the rest of the users in exchange for a fee. So, what do people think about this? For straight up no, we've been putting red.
It's essentially a long-winded no. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just essentially a long-winded no.
All right, then let's put it as red and then move to the next one, unless anyone has disagrees. Awesome. What is your company's history in the cryptocurrency space? As a company, this is our first commercial project. We obtained decent exposure to the cryptocurrency space individually. Dimitri has been involved with blockchains and cryptography for about 5 years, having obtained a master's degree in cryptography and security, and later working on hobby projects like mining Monero on cell phones using CPU and designing no-loss lotteries based on Ethereum mining. Kirill has been invested in Ether since 2017. Does anyone know these guys individually, or know the company's history, or know these people individually for a while?
I've been collaborating with them for probably 2 to 3 months now, and just kind of in the lightest sense of Kirill and I are working on an economics paper at the moment that's going to be published soon, and started working with them before. I guess just getting to know them because we did an ETH2 research project and they came across as a pooled person a few months ago. So I've spoken with Kirill and also Dimitri on multiple calls. They are dedicated to this. It's a two-man shop, and behind the scenes, I got some cool stuff that they're working on. So I guess these backgrounds are as true as I've known them to be. When I met Dimitri, he gave me the same background. So I have no reason to believe that it's fraudulent, but both of these people are real people, and they're actually both working on this project, and they are the only two, and I can vouch for their existence on the human level there.
Awesome. So what do people think about putting that as green?
That sounds like a great Bright ID verification.
Here are your team members and what are their academic and professional backgrounds. Dimitri's a full-stack engineer with a wealth of DevOps and system administration experience. He worked on the development of a public cloud network for the government in the Middle East, and later helped build 5G networks for Verizon. While at Ericsson, he has a degree of computer science and a master's in cryptography and security. Kirill is an investment analyst by occupation, having worked for one of the largest investment funds in Estonia since 2017. His experience includes working with public and private companies in the equity and debt markets on the buy side. He has a degree with an economics major and has passed level 1 of the CFA exam. I think based on our previous conversation, we can probably put this as green. Would anyone disagree? Awesome. If you are using smart contracts, have they been audited and by whom? We are choosing an audit team now, but in addition to them, our code will be audited by a few private individuals with a strong background in security. Right now, that would be a no, based on the previous answers, which means a red.
Yep.
Awesome. Describe your staking setup. Do you have your own servers? If no, which hosting providers are you using? Which clients are you using? How many nodes are you using? Do you have some sort of redundancy built in? We are using Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure to run a distributed cloud setup in different geographies to achieve redundancy. We use Prism and Lighthouse as ETH2 clients and run 2 beacon nodes per cluster. The setup allows us to quickly switch between clients and clouds in case one of the parts of the setup goes down, in case of a bug or data center downtime, for example. We run our server clusters using Kubernetes. This allows us to automatically scale the number of servers in the cluster according to the number of validators that we run and allocate more resources to the servers in times of peak demand, for example, when there's no finality. We have a failover mechanism enabled to achieve maximum redundancy. Failover allows us to automatically migrate validators to a new server in case some other server failed without loss of uptime. We ensure protection from slashing by enabling local and external slashing protection, as well as storing validator DBs on a separated volume. So this is it's interesting because they're using Google Cloud and Azure, but it looks like they have a little bit more of a comprehensive system than what's been outlined before.
I would say, in fairness, my assumption is that other providers also have a comprehensive setup. They just didn't go into the same amount of detail. I mean, this is kind of an expected stack for running that kind of service. The core here is that they're running a cloud setup, which
is going to yellow.
At least that's my perception.
No, I agree. I agree with Superfizz, and it should be yellow, especially based on the kind of parameters we've been using in the past. Does anyone disagree? Awesome. Who is invested in your business? Is there venture capital? Is there a token? If there is a token, what is it used for? We have a few offers on the table and are negotiating the venture structure now. We have 2 tokens for the pool to represent the deposit and the reward separately. They are called ST-ETH, Staked ETH, and RW-ETH, Reward ETH. Users receive ST-ETH when they make a deposit in the pool at 1-to-1 ratio. As long as they hold ST-ETH in their address, they accrue rewards in RW-ETH proportionally to their share of the pool. RW-ETH similarly reflects users' rewards in 1-to-1 fashion, net of stake-wise staking fees. Transferring ST-ETH to another address would be akin to transferring one's deposit in the pool to someone else. So in case ST-ETH is transferred to another address, RW-ETH will start accruing there. More about our tokens can be read here. So it's to me, that's not token backed, right? Because it's not like they sold an ERC20 to go along. Would you guys agree with this?
There's no extra token. They don't have their own network token. The only tokens that they create are derivatives of, or like, representations. I don't want to use the word derivative, but yeah, the only tokens they create are representations, and their token model is different because they're the only one that does a dual token structure. So it does sound a bit confusing, but it's, you receive a token for your deposit and then you have separate reward tokens, which from an economics perspective, I think that's probably one of the best.
Yeah.
But that's why there's multiple tokens that they're talking about. It's not theirs, but they do a dual staked token model.
Yep. I completely agree. Now, the harder question is, it looks like they were seeking funding, that they were self-funded until now, but, we don't know if they've actually received funding, and if they didn't receive funding, what's the kind of economic viability of the project?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do know that they're close with a couple. I won't front run them, but yeah, they are quite close, and they do have some cool options. But again, nothing is set in stone and completed, nor do I know if it's, how much of that is our responsibility. We can update it if something does happen, but as of right now, I would say that being totally self-funded is not a green area. It's probably in the yellow for me personally.
Well, yeah, and so we do have self-funded in the green if you're able to self-fund, and I know there's a lot of subjectivity to it in how we evaluate that, but it does seem for this instance that even though that they are seeking funding, they need funding in order to ensure the longevity of the project.
I think this question could really use some process work, but I think it's something we should get through this round and then revisit. And there's probably going to be a priority list of things we need to revisit for process. So just with that said, that's all I want to say.
All right. So just for the sake of putting something down for right now,
I think-
go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry. You go ahead, please.
No. I had nothing. I was just going to suggest one color, but just for the sake of moving.
I think yellow is fair, and I don't want to be unfair to them, but I think yellow means we don't know whether we're going green or red, and I don't think we know whether we're going green or red. The question is that fair in relation to the other ratings?
Awesome. So it's emerging that there's just consensus around yellow. Unless anyone has a protest, we'll just move on to the next question. How much are you charging for your staking services? We have a 10% fee on rewards in the pool and charge 10 DAI per validator per month for solo. I would say it's pretty in line, at least relatively, to the ones in the past that we've rated green, so it should be green. All right. So next one would be staking facilities. What country is your business based out of? Munich, which would be Germany. I would put that as green. Does anyone disagree? And I cross-checked it against the other list as well. Germany was not on the bad country list. Are you confident that you are adhering to all the necessary regulations for the jurisdiction you are in? Since we are in the process of relaunching our website, we will soon have updated terms and conditions of our services on the new website. These have been worked out with our lawyers from CMS, so we're very confident that we are adhering to the rules and regulations. It's a little bit actually more, because now they're telling us that at least the terms and conditions were worked on by with their lawyers, but I would still put it as yellow for now. Would you guys agree?
Yep.
I would say yes. I do know that they do have staking facilities is in the Activate marketplace for the Scale network. So I have seen their terms and conditions. So they do have an existing one. They're probably updating it to be ETH2 specific. So yeah, I would say yellow until we have that proof. But just from a historic perspective, they do have this put together. They've had counsel for a while, and I feel pretty confident that they'll produce this document, and it'll be done by like a high degree of confidence.
Gotcha. Perfect. So yellow, but most likely will be turned green once they get this terms and conditions released and the other information. How much control do you have over your users' funds? Do you hold 0, 1, or 2 keys? Non-answer. We've been putting non-answers as red. And then the next one would similarly be a non-answer, which is, do you have any insurance in case funds are lost? That would also be a red. What is your company's history in the cryptocurrency space? We were founded in 2017 and are a validator / node and node operator on several networks: Tezos, Cosmos, Solana, Polkadot, Kusama, and Edgeware. Colin, sounds like you are familiar with staking facilities.
Yeah, I've known those guys since 2018. And they were already founded at the time. So I don't know if it was actually founded in 2017, but yeah, they have been around for a while, and they do validate on multiple networks.
Yep. So I think, yeah, perfect. I agree. What are your team members and what are their academic and professional backgrounds? They didn't really answer that question, so I just put that as red. If you're using smart contracts, did I lose you guys?
Nope.
No, so Philip wants to rejoin. Perfect. If you are using smart contracts, have they been audited by whom? We are currently not using smart contracts. Might change with something like Lido. No smart contracts. The precedent that we put is green. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
No, what do you think? What do you think?
So I'm under some pressure here by recognizing that we've given them some reds, and this question should be independent. It shouldn't be relative to their other responses, even when they left it blank. If I were to separate this out, I would say that they're not actually certain that they're not using smart contracts. They're saying they're not currently, but they might, which to me tends toward yellow, because they're not saying we're developed and we're not using smart contracts. They're saying we really don't know.
No, I think that logic makes more sense, to be quite frank. Because it's even been weeks since we got these answers, and it might have even changed. And I think it's a lot worse of a scenario if we're rated it green and then they have unaudited smart contracts and then something happens. You know what I mean? So I think yellow makes a lot of sense. Does anyone disagree? Awesome. So describe your staking setup. Do you have your own servers? If no, which hosting provider are you using? Which clients are you using? How many nodes are you using? Do you have some sort of redundancy built in? Our core infrastructure is deployed at tier 3 plus data centers. We use a combination of different security measures in combination with state-of-the-art monitoring to ensure high availability and security. Protecting our customer funds against slashing is our highest priority. That would be a yellow based on our framework, considering it be a self-hosted or specifically data center in their case. Who is invested in your business? Is there venture capital? Is there a token? If there is a token, was it used for? A non-answer, I would consider that a red. Similarly to how much you're charging for your staking services, because they didn't answer, I would consider that a red. All right, last one, Rocket Pool.
Hey,
Yeah.
Owen. I actually have a side note. Sorry for being late. Regarding to staking facilities on the smart contract point. I don't know whether you already mentioned that, but as I already pointed out on Discord, I was in the Lido Discord server the other day, and one of the operators, so business operator by staking facilities, is listed there as a node operator. And I guess that's what they're mentioning towards on the smart contract question. So they aren't sure that they're using smart contracts because Lido will use smart contracts or is using smart contract. And I'm guessing they're not sure whether they will use pool funds in order to operate staking nodes within the Lido ecosystem.
Which really brings us to the question that Lido is one of the things that we'd love to get on this list soon. That would actually inform answers for staking facilities, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wanted to bring that up. I don't know whether you already covered it.
Well, that's very helpful. And I think that reinforces our answer of giving it a yellow until we can figure out, what's going on with Lido and getting more information there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. So we'll move on to the last one, which is Rocket Pool. What country is your business based out of? Australia. I would put that would be when one of the it's not in the list of bad jurisdictions. I would put that as a green.
I want to really quickly say out loud that I'm going to not speak during Rocket Pool just because I have a personal affection for it, and I've said a lot of publicly positive things about it. So I want that to be evident that I don't want to participate here.
Appreciate the disclosure. Are you confident that you're adhering to all the necessary regulations for the jurisdictions you're in? Based on how we've rated the previous answers, that would be a yellow. Considering we need to ask for more information. How much?
I have a question. Sorry for interrupting. I have a question for that, because I mean the node operators are operating within their jurisdiction. So every node operator is operating in a different jurisdiction. So are they really making sure that all the services that are offered within the ecosystem are adhering to all necessary regulations? Or is it just from their side?
So what we've decided moving forward, and it's why we've given yellows to everyone in this category, is we just don't have. We want to actually read the disclosures or what what have been the legal opinions on their businesses. Like we want to actually read those documents and get a better idea, because there's a lot of gray areas, just like you suggested. So we really want to see how they're thinking about it, and that's why we've gone through and rated them all yellow, because they all said, yes, we're doing it legally, but we just want a little bit more meat there in order to analyze and understand, why do you think you're doing this legally?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Yep. So how much control do you have over users' funds? Do you hold 0, 1, or 2 keys? 0. We've already given blocks as agreeing for having 0. I would put that as a green. Do you have any insurance in case funds are lost? It's built into the protocol. I know, I'm not familiar enough with Rocket Pool's system to know exactly what that means, but if anyone is familiar with it and maybe can expand upon it.
So my understanding, I've messed around with Rocket Pool and all of their beta programs, have been following it pretty closely. My understanding is that if you're one of the individuals who is staking less than 16 ETH, so you're not a node service provider, you're just staking, your funds are effectively protected in the smart contract, because the smart contracts basically have the ability to take the losses kind of out of the node provider's cut. So like if you're a node provider and you do something that results in your node getting penalized, you'll get less than the 16 ETH that you put in, but you'll also have to cover the losses that you've created to the network. So if you're a node provider, your funds are like actually kind of the opposite of insured. You're really putting your funds kind of extra at stake. But if you're just using the service, I think that's the idea, is that the protocol protects you by forcing the node providers to kind of put up all of the collateral.
And do the node providers get compensated for that extra risk?
Yeah, so well, they're getting a fee, right? So when you sign up as a node provider, you lock in. It's like a market-based fee that they're getting. So if the pool is at like 100% usage and there's more demand for node providers than there are node providers, the maximum fee is 20% of the fees that you earn for others comes back to you. And then that would go down if the demand were to go down. So basically, as a node provider, if you do a good job, it's like the same load on your hardware and everything as solo staking. You do take on some smart contract risk, but you're basically getting just a juiced up return versus what you could get solo staking. So you are just kind of like leveraging the bet on your own sort of competence as a node runner, because you do stand to lose more on a percentage basis, because you'd have to cover the losses for the other people's funds as well.
So it's interesting because it sounds like they have an insurance system that's internal to how their business operates, right? So it's not like they're insured by X outside company, but they do have internal insurance mechanisms for, this entity is taking more risk versus others. What do we think about that? Do we think that we've been rating any other entities when they say they have no insurance as red? The only one we've rated yellow is one that says other, having usual liability is the only reason why we in directors insurance. So we gave that a yellow. What do you guys think about this kind of? It's not official insurance, but it is an insurance system internal to their product.
I would vote this as yellow, and I would kind of link this to a question about smart contracts, and that it could turn green in the future. Like if we had some sort of external review of this and it were deemed to be just as valid of insurance as you could generate from an insurance company. But right now, like Rocket Pool is a pretty complex system of smart contracts, and I don't think we have the ability to say whether this is going to work effectively or not, because it's just like we don't have that information.
Agreed. I'm also very comfortable giving it a yellow for now. Would anyone disagree with that assessment? Awesome. So I think we put it yellow for now. The next question is, what is your company's history in the cryptocurrency space? Around since 2016, actively working on decentralized staking protocol for ETH2. I know Superfish doesn't want to comment, but does anyone else? I've definitely heard of Rocket Pool and known them for a little bit, but does anyone else want to comment on their kind of relationship or knowing or recognition of the company and its history?
I don't know any of these guys personally, but I've interacted with them a lot on their Discord over the course of their various beta programs. And I know that they've run beta programs for ETH2 since even before like the sort of switch to the current beacon chain model. So I think they've been really out in public and, putting out real products, even though they are on the test net. Like I personally think it should be green, but I don't know if anybody else has a different opinion.
I don't think this answer is any worse than or different than some of the other answers, and that's why I think we should probably put it green, since it would be exceptional by definition if we made them yellow and everyone else was green. Do you guys agree?
Yep.
Awesome. So let's keep it green for now. And once again, this is all going to be reevaluated in the future anyway. Who are your team members? What are their academic and professional backgrounds? David Rugendijk, founder and senior developer with over 20 years experience. Jack Popspiskal, and it looks like they just didn't answer what his background was. I don't know these guys, and they obviously didn't provide a lot of information on their background, so I have a difficult time evaluating their backgrounds.
Yeah, it could go either way on this. I mean, we can always leave it as a provisional yellow and ask them for more information and turn it green at a later time.
I think that's exactly the approach. Let's put it yellow for now, and then unless anyone disagrees, and then potentially we change it later on once we get more information.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like we have more of a consensus on green for this answer. So I think we should change it to green unless anyone disagrees. All right. If you're using smart contracts, have they been audited by whom? Will be audited before mainnet, most likely by Sigma Prime and consensus due diligence. So it's in the past we've given, if you haven't been audited yet, it's a red.
Yep.
So I think that's what it should be for now. But that's one thing in particular that there's been time now since we asked for the answers for these questions, and we should definitely get an update on that. But we'll discuss that because we're gonna have some time at the end on how it's gonna work. Describe your staking setup. Do you have your own servers? If no, which hosting provider are you using? Which clients are you using? How many nodes are you using? Do you have some sort of redundancy built in? We use a decentralized network of node operators. Each node operator can choose either Prism or Lighthouse. Clients currently, with support for more coming in the future. Redundancy is built into the network using economic incentives and can protect against downtime penalties and slashing events. So decentralized network of node operators, that would be under the framework we provided a green. Oh, yeah, a green. If anyone disagrees, feel free to voice it, but if not, we'll move on. Who is invested in your business? Is there venture capital? Is there a token? If there is a token, what is it used for? Consensus is invested, and we have our RPL token that is primarily used for governance of the decentralized network to protect against slashing events. We've said that a token backed. So this is a little bit interesting because Consensus is obviously a reputable company and they're invested. They're also token backed, which would be a yellow under the framework we've already created. So what do you guys think?
Yep, I agree, yellow.
Awesome. All right, so we leave that as yellow, and then unless anyone disagrees, the last question, how much are you charging for your staking service? 0, there's a commission fee that goes to node operators to stake ETH on behalf of the protocol. This is dynamic based on demand, though. Does anyone understand this answer better than I do? Because I don't understand.
Yeah, so my understanding of this is that they themselves are not charging a commission, but node operators, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, I guess, is like node operators, when you sign up to be a node operator,
Yep.
they tell you kind of like in their application, it tells you like, here's the current kind of supply demand balance, and you're able to offer your services at a certain percentage fee. And kind of lock that in. And so it's just market based and it's capped at 20%. So it can never be above that. But if the demand for node providers is lower, then the fee will drop. So I actually really like this mechanism just because it's market based and totally transparent. Like it's in the smart contracts, how it works. And I think it's kind of clearly fair just because it is so transparent and based on market rates.
Yep. Now that I understand a little bit better, I appreciate that explanation. By the way, thank you. I'm with you. I'm okay with this being green. Anyone disagree? Awesome. So congratulations to us because we have now gotten through all these answers. It took longer than expected for sure, but we got better at it by the end, and we'll continue to iterate and get better and better and better. So there are some items that I want to discuss now that we've done this first kind of round. So we got a couple different things. One, is now uploading this information to our website. That'd be one step. Another step is right now we only had, I think, 9 or 10 of these staking pools answers. I think there's at least double that amount that haven't answered quite yet, or at least double what we have. I think there's at least 10 more maybe that we don't have answers for yet, and I think even more than that. So getting more answers from staking pools, that's another action item. And then the third action item is performing another round of diligence on these previous answers. So what I suggest is I do suggest we break up into groups in order to sort of perform these actions asynchronously and then come back together. So one group being in charge of getting more answers and more trading pools, another group in charge of getting these answers formatted and uploaded, and another group going through and performing deeper due diligence on these answers. What do you guys think about that plan?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, yep.
Well, I don't have any objection to that plan. I just have one different thing. It seems to me that, as you're correct, we know there's a bunch of other staking pools out there. If people come to the F staker community to read what's there, maybe we ought to list pools that we know exist and just show them as read and say explicitly, make the implicit explicit and say have not responded to us. But just a thought, because otherwise people come, they don't see anything on our information, and then they go and get the happy story, marketing story that's going to be sold by the company itself and the media that they can often get in bed with them in coin, unfortunate crypto coin media can get in bed with these different companies. A lot of the rug pulls and exit scams have also done that. So anyway, it occurs to me we ought to discuss process. My sense would be to put a red line and did not respond to our survey would be a good piece of information to give the innocent noob coming to the staker community to learn something. What do others think about that?
I'm actually personally very pro that because I think it'll incentivize them to then provide us their answers on a more timely basis. But so I'm pro. Just suggested. What do other people think?
Aye.
My only hesitation would be if we look at the list of staking pools that beaconcha.in has compiled. That list, I want to say, has about maybe 20 or 20 is probably a fair rough number. And so I do agree that we should do this, but if we do that, we're going to end up with people who are responding, but still have read because we haven't vetted. So I guess the idea would be that we list them all with red. When they vet or when they submit answers, we fill it in, but then turn them white so they're at least neutral rather than don't use.
Or maybe, yeah, and I think that's a great point too. We need to somehow identify there's a difference between a red because it's a red and a red because we just don't have the information, right?
And so I guess orange. We discussed the use of orange before. Maybe if we're very concerned about this color coding system, if we turned these current reds to oranges because we have vetted them and they are just cautionary, then we could make the default color for unanswered questions red because they, as having not provided any information, they are the greatest risk.
I agree with that plan. I like that that idea a lot. What do other people think?
sounds great to me because there's that product Lido that I keep hearing about and I've read a bit about, but I don't have a good sense of them. And rather than it being first to the table, I think it is priority of the community.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Michael, I think you have a very good grasp about this. So you've already done a lot of work on the website. So what do you think about spearheading the efforts of, translating the rating information we have and putting it on the website? I think that works. And I love the idea. I think once we see it, we're gonna, we'll have a better idea of it as well. And then we can obviously, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. I'm sure everyone's gonna love it. But by off chance, there are certain things we don't like or want to improve or change or whatever, we can always iterate on. I think we all agree on that. So that's great, Michael. If you need any help, feel free to pull people in to help you with that particular task. I'd actually like to nominate some people. I think actually James and Philip, based on your conversations in the Discord right now, you guys have already been doing a lot about this. What do you guys think about taking a little bit of a deeper dive and doing that more in-depth due diligence and checking, cross-referencing and double-checking some of those answers?
Yep, that works for me, and that's well in line with my experience and what I feel is kind of within my wheelhouse. So I'm good with doing that.
Awesome. And, you can obviously feel free to go whatever due diligence pass you want. You can reach out to the projects. You can say, hey, we're rating you yellow for now because we don't have the disclaimers. Can you provide the disclaimer or provide the legal opinion? I'm sure you know exactly what to do. Phil, what about you? Do you be willing to work with James on this?
Also, happy to help with that.
Awesome.
And sorry, my audio is cutting in and out, so not getting everything, but get the most of it.
Is that my fault?
No, it's on my end, most certainly.
And then I'll volunteer myself, and maybe Derek wants to help me, and anyone else, Terrence, Kirk, if you guys want to chip in too, of pressing the new staking pools to get their answers in, to get more answers coming in, so we can go through this evaluation process for them. And that's more of just like a grind of annoying them until they give us answers. And I think having them rated orange will be very helpful in that process. Thanks, Superfizz. So Derek, you willing to help me out with that? You're on mute.
Yeah, sure. I said it 4 times, by the way.
Madison, I think since I've recused from the staking pool thing, I don't think I'll chase them, but I would be happy to do any kind of a high level review. I tend to find bugs pretty easy. So if somebody has something that is getting close to going to the website like Michael and say, hey, I need somebody outside of me, I'm coding this stuff, and who can notice things. I will notice things, Michael, but if that's helpful. If you ask, I will do it. And if you don't want that kind of help, don't feel bad about not asking. You will not be hurt.
Awesome. Thanks for stepping up. Kirk. Sweet. So I think we're good there. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up? I know it's pending holidays. Everyone wants the cider and the eggnog, right? All right, guys. Thank you so much.
See you guys.